we wanted to give some updates here, and probably we'll cover this more on the Friday show, but there are some developments with regard to these boat strikes and the illegality of them, and some breaking news. The Wall Street Journal with this scoop confirming what we already, of course, very strongly suspected. You remember that top admiral who resigned around the time that the boat strikes were starting. Well, it turns out that this was pretty directly related to him questioning the legality of the boat strikes overall. And I'm not just talking about the double tap. I'm talking about the overall program. So this says Hegseth asked top admiral to resign after months of discord. I think that's sort of soft pedaling, actually, the claims in the article, which seemed to indicate it was directly as a result of his questioning of the legality here. It says Hegseth's move, which has been previously reported, sheds new light on a brewing controversy over the legality of the military's campaign. Hegseth has dismissed a number of high-ranking military leaders since taking over the Pentagon. Having Halsey leave at this particular moment at the height of what the Pentagon considers to be the central action in our hemisphere is just shocking, says Todd Robinson, who served as Assistant Secretary for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs until January. They say, according to two Pentagon officials, Hegseth asked Admiral Alvin Halsey to step down. A de facto ouster that was the culmination of months of discord began days after Trump's inauguration, intensified months later when Halsey had initial concerns about the legality of lethal strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, according to former officials. So already not on Hegseth's good side, and then he questions the legality, and that's when he is asked to leave. So again, confirmation of what we all very much strongly suspected and consistent with other concerns from whistleblowers about this is just like claiming that we're at war with these drug boats and then that we can, randomly kill them and there's no war authorization from Congress. All of this is, it's brazenly illegal, and clearly there were concerns internally, and if you had those concerns, you were pushed out. Let me go ahead and put this next piece up on the screen, which is just a good article from the Washington Post about the way that they have changed their responses on all of this from the beginning. And they just go sort of blow by blow here of what this administration has said and when. So first, Trump says military literally shot out a boat from Venezuela. That was the initial reaction. Then Hegseth says that he watched it live, which would come to be very significant, about what he ordered and what he knew about it. A Pentagon spokesman, after the initial reporting from the Washington Post came out, saying that there was a double tap strike and that Hegseth had given the kill order. Pentagon spokesman said that, quote, this entire narrative is completely false, so seeming to indicate that even the details of it being a double tap strike was incorrect. Then Trump says Hegseth told him he did not give a spoken order. Then Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes, according to White House press secretary. So they're saying first Trump is like, well, I don't think he gave the spoken order. Then they're saying, okay, well, he did, but he authorized Admiral Bradley then to conduct these lethal kinetic strikes. Then Hegseth says, I watched that first strike live, but he didn't stick around for the second strike. So clarification, I guess, on the original claim that he had watched the whole thing live. And then Trump says, I support the decision to knock out whoever is piloting those boats, which is different from his original reaction, which is that he did not like the idea that there was a second strike. So they've been kind of all over the place. And the overall thrust at this point is to claim, well, this was totally legal. And here's why. And their claim now is that, well, the two people who had survived, one of them was trying to call for help. We took that as them still being combatants. And that's why it was legal to do the second strike. But also, by the way, Hegseth had nothing to do with it, and it was all Admiral Bradley here. Let me put the next one up on the screen. This is some new details from the New York Times. This is effectively what I was just saying, like their U.S. military's boat strikes planning takes on new significance. They talk here about how in advance they had planned contingencies for if there were survivors, so trying to, make this seem like there was more sort of official decision-making as well. And then put G4 up on the screen. We've got more Republicans who are concerned and voicing dissent over what was done here and starting to assert some power. And Saagar, this reminds me, the sort of political reaction here reminds me of what we were talking about earlier with Elise Stefanik and how she's now decided to go aggressively after Mike Johnson. She's not going to go after Trump, but she wants to separate herself from the Republican Party overall. And so she's chosen as her target Mike Johnson. Seems to me like Pete Hegseth is filling that role for a number of Republicans as well. Their Admiral Bradley is here on the Hill today taking questions from Congress. They've launched investigations, bipartisan investigations in both the House and the Senate. You've had a number of members. Rand Paul has been very aggressive, talking about how basically they've been lying. And, he's been concerned from the beginning about the illegality here. And so his rhetoric has been pretty forceful, but others as well, not just Rand Paul, who is, more sort of principled on these things in general. So, I think Hegseth is genuinely in a bit of a. Emily thinks that they feel like they've sort of nailed it and they're good and they're in the clear. I don't know that I'm convinced about that, because he is such an incompetent person to begin with, and not really loved, and has made all sorts of enemies in the time period that he's been there. It seems to me like he could be a convenient scapegoat for these people.
Oh, Hegseth? Yeah, I mean, I could see that. But the thing is that I was talking to you about this before the show. This whole thing drives me nuts. Well, trying to litigate the specifics of naval law about a second strike is the whole point is that this is fucking stupid. Striking drug boats while pardoning the Honduran president who was a narco trafficker. Also, remember Yon Grillo, who we've had on the show?
Yeah.
I mean, he made this great point. If you are a Chapito, the son, you just got a sweetheart deal because you kidnapped El Mayo and brought him to America. The Wall Street Journal just did this long story about all of these narco traffickers who were cutting deals with. I'm talking about real narco traffickers, not guys on some fucking boats.
Guys who are poor fishermen who's desperate.
See, this is another thing that drives me crazy. Not just cocaine, fentanyl, like the Mexican drug cartels, who are 90% of the fentanyl that enter the United States are the people who put it in the cocaine and then bring it here to stretch their own profits. We're cutting deals with those guys, like very good deals. So what's the,
and those deals we did with Bukele, so that we could, put random innocent Venezuelans in CCOT. We handed over some drug traffickers, gang leaders to him because he didn't want them testifying about whatever his deals that he had cut with them as well.
I'm not even against doing deals with, whatever, in order to, lock up more narco traffickers. I'm not even saying that. But I'm saying if you do that at the same time that you're saying that we need to kill these guys on boats who, again, allegedly have cocaine, not even fentanyl, almost certainly not fentanyl, because especially the ones in the Caribbean, not fentanyl. Sorry, I could say that. And if you believe that, release the evidence or prosecute them. I'd be happy to say I'm wrong. I'm talking about purely your own DEA report, which says no fentanyl. You guys said that, not me. Trump's own DEA, April 2025. I tweeted out the report. You can go read it. It's public if you want to. The point that remains around this whole thing is that Washington seems to be consumed with this whole second strike on the boat. And it's like, no, the strikes are dumb. Now, in a liberal internationalist framework, you can talk about international law and all that. As you guys know, not my thing. I'm just like, why are we even entertaining this? Like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
They just can't. And by the way, America agrees with me. There was this theory that these would be massively popular. They're not. Trump is very underwater on the strikes. They're not buying this bullshit.
No, they're not.
And they shouldn't, because in your lifetime, have you ever heard about Venezuelan fentanyl before this whole? No, but everybody knows where the fentanyl comes from. Everyone. If you're striking Mexico, it actually could be a different story. But again, the geopolitical implications of that would be so insane, considering our trading relationship. This is an ideological war. Their pretext is just like WMD. It was never about WMD at the time. It was about regime change. This time, fentanyl is irrelevant. If it wasn't fentanyl, they would make up some other shit.
Yeah.
And it's even, oh my God, even with cocaine, it's like we're talking about 10% of the cocaine. So that's, instead of 90%, that's not the place that you would go if you really were concerned about doing something. So my only saving grace, most Americans think this is total bullshit.
Yeah.
But then in the conduct of the Pentagon, it is so disgraceful the way that Hegseth has, he threw this guy under the bus. I mean, I don't know. I feel for the admiral. Like, it's like, Hegseth gives him this order. The Southcom commander goes. He's a SEAL team guy. Long history of these counter-terror missions. I don't know how closely he looked at the legality and now all these guys, I mean, look, for this admiral, like, you need to lawyer up. You're already before Congress.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, when the Democrats win, you're going to be testifying at the very least in private in a classified setting. You could be testified publicly.
Oh, I don't even
They're
think it's going to have to be till the demo because there's already a bipartisan investigation, both the House and the Senate. So I think it's coming before even Democrats take control of anything.
And then
like,
the drone operator, right? I mean, that guy's going to have to get a lawyer. Like, you know, you're talking about the individual soldier service members. I think, Navy. So individual sailors who are all involved in this. It's like what they're put in an impossible position. Because Hegseth is telling them, you're gone if you're gone if you disobey orders. Literally fired the Southcom commander.
I mean, think of what this does within the military, where I think previously there had just been sort of an assumption like, oh, if I'm being asked to do something, it's been run through the proper channels, whatever. Yes. And now not only are you like, no, it's not, number one, they're inventing fake secret memos. They're firing or pushing out anybody who disagrees. And by the way, if there are questions about this and it becomes hot, they will happily throw your ass under the bus.
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking about anytime you get an order now, you better be consulting a lawyer, talking to one of these outside organizations and thinking hard about what is this going to mean for me and what kind of jeopardy this puts me in for the future. That is a very different mentality, than is typical in these situations. And to your point about how just preposterously, insultingly stupid all of this is. Take a listen to Kristi Noem talking about how Trump is saving millions of lives with these boat strikes. This is G5.
You've saved hundreds of millions of lives with the cocaine you've blown up in the Caribbean.
I'm sorry, hundreds of millions of lives. Can you tell me again what the population of America is?
330 million.
He's saved literally all, we would all be dead of fentanyl overdose if it wasn't for these boats. I mean, it's so stupid. It's so embarrassing. Pam Bondi has said similar things previously. Trump says similar things all the time. Do you know what the impact on drug trafficking will be of these boat strikes? Zero. It will be literally zero. Everyone knows this. Some of these people, one of the people they murdered, by the way, their family is like, he was literally just an innocent fisherman, is now like going to court over this. So yes, on every level, it's disgusting, it's immoral, it's murder, it's wrong, it's outrageous, and it accomplishes literally nothing other than helping Marco Rubio in his like undying quest to overturn.
To fulfill his father's dream.
Fulfill his dreams,
Yeah,
yes.
no, his father's dream was to free Cuba. They think it's like domino theory. These people are fucking crazy. Like he writes about it in his own book. I'm not making this up. He literally wrote it in his book that was one of his father's wishes. Okay, you can go read it for yourself if you want to. I mean, look, I'll tell you. I said this on Twitter. I was like, look, I can forgive people who fell for not forgive. I can understand people who fell for WMD in the wake of 9/11. It was scary, mainstream media, but man,
we had just been attacked. You know, I mean, it's more. I didn't fall for it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's more understandable.
I can understand, not forgive. I can understand how a lot of people fell for that. But Venezuelan fentanyl, you're an idiot. You're an imbecile, and it makes me question like faith in democracy at all, if that's going to be a real thing. So we'll see. I hope the people are at least paying attention and are listening. And actually, my greatest hope would be an ignition of a real anti-war movement that used to exist in the Iraq days. Because what the blob has long found out is that as long as not that many Americans die, most people will just tolerate stuff. Yeah. But I do think Israel actually ignited a big anti-war sentiment in a lot of people, even though we weren't the ones directly involved. We were funding it. But if we start to, some sort of Libya-type campaign, again, yes, even if hundreds of Americans don't die, and it's only special operators and only special operators in CIA and only Air Force drones and all of that, it's like the point should be we should not be involved on this under false pretenses. It's ridiculous. It's counter to our own interests. So I do hope that it becomes, I don't know, I hope it ignites some sort of public consciousness.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we really lost from the 2000s. The anti-war right was a real thing. The American conservative, the Pat Buchanan, writing and railing against the Iraq war. The anti-war left was huge. I mean, it was a potent force, and it really died sometime around 2016, which is really, it's tragic. And Trump obviously hijacked it for his own purposes and betrayed it simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So I do want it to come back. I really do.
Last thing I want to give, Glenn Greenwald made a good point here that I think is worth reading out. as our last item here. He says there's been valid attention paid to how many Americans indoctrinated from birth to love Israel want the U.S. to serve Israel. There are also people from Latin America or its immigrant communities who want the U.S. military used to change that region's governments that they dislike. I grew up in South Florida. Many Cubans did not learn English despite being given U.S. citizenship because they believed it was the U.S. government's duty to remove Castro, then Chavez, so they could go back. Both Rubio and Congresswoman Salazar, whose comments we played here before, come from that milieu. And I think that is an important thing to keep in mind, is that these people who have very powerful government positions, Marco Rubio is one of the most powerful actors in our government right now, deeply ideological and committed to this ideological goal that has nothing to do with benefiting America overall. And so there is a commonality between the, how perplexed we all are and disgusted with the commitment to Israel over and above, what's good for the world, certainly not what's good for Palestinians, let alone what's good for America, and the ideological direction and content of the boat bombings and the potential regime change in Venezuela.
It's not a bad point, actually.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Friday show tomorrow. We'll see you all then.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.